a bit of a bandwidth problem again.
Morning, everybody. Welcome to Australia Day Junee Style 2022. Thank you for distancing. I would say you're with family members, close family members. You can actually sit close together. So if you want to take a minute to switch up next to somebody you know well, you're more than welcome to do that. A couple of housekeeping things. Put your phones on silent, please. The toilets towards the front of the building and around to the right, just follow the signs. You can pretty well see where the exits are. So that's that for that one. First of all, I'd like to get the glass. So I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, which we hold that ceremony, as the Wiradjuri people. Particularly like to welcome Auntie Gail back. She's a regular at our Australia Day functions. And I'd like to pay my respect to the elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to other community members present. I'd like to welcome our distinguished guests, Auntie Gail being one of them. We've got Michael McCormack, the Honourable Michael McCormack, MP for the Federal seat of Riverina, our local rep, federal seats. Good to see you again, Michael. And of course, your wife, Catherine, I think you're looking long, Catherine. And I'd like to also welcome Steph Cook, our very, very energetic member for Coonamunra. So thank you for coming out, Steph. We do have a couple of apologies. We've got some councillors who put in an apology, Councillor Mark Cook, Councillor Bob Callow, Councillor David Carter, Councillor Andrew Clinton, and Councillor Robert Asmus is actually here, so he's not an apology, he's helping us with the audio visual stuff. So, and we've got, I noticed we've got a couple of our other councillors here. Councillor Murray Knight, our very new and enthusiastic councillor. Councillor Pam Halliburton, of course, who champions the colouring in competition every year and a number of other things. So if I missed any councillors, it would be tragic if I didn't. Councillor Matt Austin, yeah, my goodness, larger than life character. Sorry, Matt. Okay, very good. Well, I'll ask Auntie Gail to come up first and do a welcome to country for us, please. Thank you.
Mana yang Junee Shire Nadia Wiradjuri Yormawodi. Into Baladina Gomembana Wiradjuri Nurman. Aboriginal Nurman Yanigin Guna Nurur. I just said, good morning everyone. My name's Val Manson. I'm a Wiradjuri elder from Waka, and I'm here to welcome you to Wiradjuri country. Aboriginal country of home, always and forever. I would like to pay my respects to the traditional custodians of this land, the Wiradjuri people. Nani Intimami Kuyalongan, Yandu Dandu, Nani Intimami Ayami, Nani Intimami Kumidaga, Nani Intimami Kuga. My respects to elders past and present. My respects to Bayami, our Father Creator. My respects to Mother Earth, our Mother Creator. And my respects to the Tawana, the total of the Wiradjuri people. We are here today for the Australian Day. To many First Nation people, it is invasion or survival day. In the early 1800s, Europe came to Wiradjuri country and invasion or settlement, or whatever word you want to put on it. The effects to the Wiradjuri people were devastating. Genocidal practices such as murder, rape, massacre, dispossession in all its forms were an attempt to elimination of First Nation peoples. Despite this, Wiradjuri people has survived and are now there is a resurgence of our cultural perspectives of these proud people. Well, we all know we've had many different things like the 1967 referendum, which some people I was talking to earlier didn't know that up until that referendum, Aboriginal people were known as flora or fauna. I was in an exhibition down in Sydney last year called Unsettled, and one of the elders there, we were talking about adversity. She said, yeah, mine's got flora and fauna on it where it's got sex. And to me, that is disgusting. And it needs to change. So I won't go into all the things that happen, but we all know there's still a lot of work to do. We also have Aboriginal people fighting for Aboriginal people. One such person that comes to mind is William Ferguson, who in 1937 launched the Australian Progressive Association, and together with other members held the first day of mourning on the next Australia Day. Today we call it Survival Day, and so the fight for Aboriginal people began. I could, however, come to more recent events, such as the revival of some of our cultural practices, such as weaving, and thanks to Stan Grant and Dr. John Rowe, the Wiradjuri language, which is now taught out at CSU and it's also taught in Faith. Last year I was lucky enough to be a part of the Unsettled exhibition at the Australian Museum in Sydney. This exhibition tells a true story of Australian history, and it also has the documentation to back it up. So where it's been hiding for all these years, I have no idea. Australia does have a black history, and it needs to be taught in schools. When I went to school, I was taught that James Cook discovered Australia. How can you discover something when people already doing it? Many of us have seen the story of Australia on television, and the words at the end of it are reflect, respect, and celebrate. We've come a long way as a nation, and we all belong and are connected to each other and Bunidada and Mother Earth. To me, Australia means Australia coming together as one country, one people. I go into schools and I teach Wiradjuri language. And about 4 years ago, I was teaching at third class school and I was doing a class. I had 15 students and 7 different nationalities. We are a multicultural society, and to me, if we take the time to learn from each other our different cultures, we can get along and live together. We've proved that when we've had our drought, the bushfires, the floods. We've all come together and helped one another. Why can't we do it every day? Now we've got COVID for a bit, and as far as I'm concerned, we're not going to get rid of it. So I ask you all to take the time to speak to people from other countries and learn some of their culture. In school, when we have our culture day, I do cooking, and I ask the children, if you've got an auntie, an uncle, mum, dad, grandparent that'd like to come along and talk about your culture and your food, they're quite welcome. So I will close now in recognition of my culture and heritage. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all here to the land of my ancestors. I hope you have an enjoyable time, enjoy and have a safe journey home. And in Wiradjuri, we don't say goodbye. So I will say, Nagiri Tinjam, Uwayu, Mangangu, which is, I will see you later, and thank you.
Thanks, Adgar. It's always a pleasure to hear you speak. It's, to finish on that very positive thought. Something that comes to mind to me, I've been told that Junee means speak to me in the Aboriginal language. You might correct me if that's wrong, but
I don't know, but I know that my grandmother's house on Junction Street, sounds like Eden, my aunt, and you see, it was an Aboriginal word, and it meant resting place.
very good. And the word is Aboriginal. It made a good on the spot. Yeah, okay. I think, speak to me just infers speaking to each other and listening. So, you know, it's a great message. And on that note, a little bit later, we've got some citizenship ceremony, a citizenship ceremony where we've got some people from other cultures. And I just think it's great. Take the time to meet those people and you know, confer with them. Okay, next on our program is the raising of flags. We've got both the Australian flag and the Aboriginal flag. So I call on the first Junee Scout group to, and if everybody could stand up while this occurs. Thank you. You said thank you too to the first Junee Scout group, but also very regular players in our ceremony today. I believe the Aboriginal flag is now fully available too, is that right? So that's a bit of new news, I think. Yeah, so anybody who wants to use the flag images anywhere, go for your life. Okay. We've now moved to our citizenship ceremony. So I'll ask our people who are being sworn in today to come up to the podium and stand with us, please. As they're coming up, I've just got a few words to say. Today, as Australia has been built from the combined contributions of our Indigenous people and those who came here later from all over the world. We accept and respect the cultures and traditions of newcomers and, in return, expect they also respect and accept the cultural differences they find here. While we embrace and celebrate the diversity of the Australian people, we also aim to build a cohesive and unified nation of people. Australian citizenship lies at the heart of a nation founded on all-round equality. So today we're welcoming Mrs. Sarah Bishop, Mrs. Marisol Kreuter, Mrs. Armin Kapala, and Mr. Judah Kapala. So welcome. Making the pledge is the final step in your becoming an Australian citizen. I'd like to congratulate you on your decisions to become an Australian citizen, a decision welcomed by not only me, but by all Australians, I'm not sure by the people here today. Citizenship is a common bond which unites all Australians, whether they are Australia's traditional inhabitants, first-generation migrants, or the descendants of early settlers. Our rich heritage stems from the contributions made by all of us. Now, I'd like to invite the Honourable Michael McCormack to come up and deliver a speech on behalf of the Minister for Immigration and a bunch of other things.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is my great pleasure to read the speech from the Honourable Alex Hawke MP, Minister for Immigration, Citizenship, Migrant Services and Multicultural Affairs. And these words are being said all around the nation today as we welcome Australia's newest citizens. And Mr. Hawke writes, today you become an Australian citizen. We are immensely proud of what we have achieved as a nation, and we welcome you in joining us. Our history and culture has been forged over thousands of years, first through Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, and more recently people from all corners of the earth. Australia has succeeded as a nation by embracing and defending our national values. We believe in the freedom and dignity of each individual, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and freedom of association. We value the rule of law, democracy, and equality of opportunity for all people. We stand with other democracies in helping to defend and protect these hard-fought freedoms. We are a resilient nation. Drought, bushfires, floods, and a global pandemic have challenged our normal way of life. Our social cohesion, a key strength of Australia, has never been more important. Upon taking the pledge of commitment today, I call on you to embrace these values and the rights and responsibilities of Australian citizenship and play an active part in your local communities to build an even stronger nation. On behalf of the Australian Government, I congratulate you on reaching this very special day. That's the message from Alex. So congratulations.
Thanks very much, Mike. I'd just like to mention too that the Kapala family are wearing their traditional dress of the Philippines. Is that correct? Yeah. How smart do they look as a family? Australian citizenship represents full and formal membership with the community of the Commonwealth of Australia. The Australian citizenship is a common bond involving reciprocal rights and obligations, uniting all Australians while respecting their diversity. Persons on whom Australian citizenship is conferred enjoy these rights and undertake to accept these obligations by pledging loyalty to Australia and its people, by sharing their democratic beliefs, by respecting their rights and liberties, and by upholding and obeying the laws of Australia. So now, our recipients of citizenship today will make that pledge. So I'll read each line, and then if you could repeat after me, please. From this time forward, under God, I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people, whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, and whose laws I will uphold and obey. Thank you. Now, I'll ask Michael up again. We do have some certificates and some Australian native plants to present to you at the moment. So if I could come up, Michael. Okay, Sharon, what do we do? We'll just grab a certificate of it. So can Steph come up too, please? You can come all this way, Steph. Just move forward. Certificates. Steph, Michael. Oh, there. Three, two, one. Perhaps pick up the plants at the end or something just to keep things simple. So just to finish off, Sarah, Marisol, Armin and June, I welcome you as citizens of Australia, and I congratulate you on your decision to become an Australian citizen. Now that you're Australian citizens, you enjoy specific privileges and responsibilities, such as the right to vote, to help elect Australia's governments, and access to an Australian passport. Australia's future success depends on the way we work together. So thank you very much. There'll be some opportunity for photos after the Australia Day ceremonies are over, so don't run away. Thank you very much. Step and Matt. I believe we have the Junee band and choir who are going to perform the national anthem. They're just making their way down from upstairs at the moment. A very important part of our community is our Junee band and choir. Very fortunate. Not every community has the luxury of enthusiastic people such as those that are here today. Range of ages, as you can see, which is very heartening. So unfortunately, you're not allowed to join in because of COVID restrictions, but I would ask you if you would mind standing while the national anthem is sung, please. It's like going to church. Just a bit away. As you know, Woolworths have been sponsoring the Australia Day ambassadors for many, many years. And our current ambassador is Susie Ellerman, AM, is one of the longest serving, I believe. 23 years, she tells me. Susie Ellerman is truly the epitome of a multimedia broadcaster. has been deservedly described as the most versatile, informed and professional person in Australian media today. Author, TV presenter, radio broadcaster, reporter and producer are just some of the many hats she's worn throughout an impressive career spanning 4 decades. Susie Elliman's name is synonymous with daytime television and is currently voicing her opinions as a regular panellist on Channel 9's Today Extra with David Campbell and Sylvia Jeffries. Susie is host and executive producer of her own national, daily, variety and lifestyle TV show, Susie, and then co-hosted and co-produced the national live news and current affairs show Day. Susie and Bianca both on the 9 now. Susie's long list of television credits also include more than 8 years spent alongside Bert Newton as a presenter and reporter on Good Morning Australia, and 7 years with Larry Embuer and Chloe Billings on The Morning Show. Susie was a popular regular co-host on Studio 10 on the 10 network and a regular commentator in the chat room on the Channel 9's News Now. Susie also went head-to-head with Stan Zemanek as a long-standing panellist on Network 10 and Foxtel's Beauty and the Beast. Some of Susie's many other TV roles included working as a researcher and reporter for Inch and as a reporter on the national travel show Postcards Australia. She was also a presenter and reporter on Clive Robertson's News World and a familiar fixture on Network 10's Live at 5 News, presenting the weather. Susie's television career has seen her chat one-on-one with many international stars, and she counts Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman, Whoopi Goldberg, Audrey Hepburn, Kylie Minogue, George Clooney among the latest celebrities she has interviewed. An established presence on national radio, Susie regularly formed part of the 2GB talkback team on Sydney's #1 radio station and on 4BC Brisbane and various stations on the Victoria network. Susie first hit the radio airwaves on ABC 2WN Wollongong in the early 1990s and has since been heard on WSFM, 2UE, 200 and Radio 2. This TV and radio broadcaster is also a newspaper and magazine columnist as well as an award-winning best-selling author. After releasing her book Half My Size, The Thinking Person's Diet, Susie was voted Australia's most dynamic author in 2006. Her sequel, Still Half My Size, hit the book stands in early 2018, and in 2019, Susie released her third book, 15 Minutes of Fame, The Dark Underbelly of Celebrity. For her services to charity, the not-for-profit sector and media, Susie was extremely humbled and honoured to be awarded an AM, Member of the Order of Australia, in the Queen's Birthday Honours List in June 2015. Susie is very proud as a first-generation Australian with refugee parents to be chosen as an Australia Day Ambassador for the 23rd year in a row. Ladies and gentlemen, Susie Elliman.
So much, Neil. I think I should employ him as my PR man, wouldn't I? Sorry about that. That's all right. That's all right. We'll do it this way. Distinguished guests, fellow Aussies, future Aussies, Aussie lovers, g'day. Oh, you can do better than that, g'day. That's what I like to hear. Happy Australia Day. Firstly, I too respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of this land, the Wiradjuri people. I live in Sydney on Gadigal land of the Eora Nation, and I pay tribute to elders past, present and emerging, and want to add my thanks to Auntie Gail for her wonderful welcome to country. I can't begin to tell you what an honour it is for me to be your Australia Day Ambassador, and how proud it makes me to be first generation Australian. The Australia Day program is one of the longest running and most successful National Australia Day initiatives, sending high-achieving Australians to over 300 community celebrations nationally every Australia Day. As Neil said, this is my 23rd year as an ambassador, having officiated at over 40 different locations. And as a city slicker, I always ask to get out of the big smoke and into what I call Australia's heartland. Thanks to Junee Shire Council for inviting me this year. As a teenager, I was lucky enough to regularly tour an extensive part of the state as Miss New South Wales, And in case you're wondering what year, it was 1847 for me. I have fond memories of coming to Junee and dressing up in fancy dress, period costume, and attending the Monte Cristo ball. Just as a side note, that night I wore a specially made New South Wales sash commemorating the year Junee was founded, and I donated that sash, along with all my Miss Australia memorabilia, to the National Museum in Canberra, which I guess makes me a living record. The Australia Day Council's theme this year is the story of Australia, to recognise that we are all part of the story of this extraordinary nation. It started over 65,000 years ago, and new chapters are written every day. On Australia Day, we are encouraged to reflect on our history, its highs and its lows, to respect the stories of others, and to celebrate our nation, its achievements, and most of all, its people. So I'd like you to turn to someone near you, say good day, introduce yourself in the unlikely event that you don't already know them, and tell them in a few words what you think is so great about living in this wonderful country. And if you're not sure, thank you. Off you go. Thank you for that. When I started making my list, I realised by your fundamental reasons that others probably just took for granted. So I thought I'd give you my family's story so that you'll understand why living in Australia means so much to me. Well, I was lucky enough to be born here. My parents and eldest brother came to Australia as refugees in 1950 from Northern Europe. Dad was a Holocaust survivor, born in Warsaw to Polish parents, and with no expectation, with the exception of his older brother, who managed to escape, the remainder of Dad's family were murdered by the Nazis. Most of them, including his mum, were killed in front. Dad was only a teenager and spent the remainder of the war in concentration camps, including Auschwitz. While Mum was technically born in Germany, her French mother and Polish father brought a whole set of problems of their own while she was growing up under Hitler's reign, including having her home bombed by the Americans, burying her alive in a cellar, and rendering her unconscious for 3 months. My Jewish father and Christian mother, which made for a very interesting upbringing, both realised they had to get as far away from the horrors they both experienced in Europe, and they actually had a choice between Australia and America. Now, I can assure you there were no tourist bureaus overseas or the internet back then for them to find out anything about Australia. Home Shrimp on the Barbie campaign didn't start until decades later. Oprah and Ellen weren't even born then, and I guess neither were Chris Hemsworth's parents for that matter. They primarily chose Australia over the US for its geographical location, and I think our former Prime Minister Paul Keating put it most eloquently when he described this as being at the arse end of the world. But even before they hit the high seas, it wasn't all smooth sailing for my family to get here. My eldest brother, who was 2, got chickenpox in Italy, where they were quarantined and had to spend all their money just to eat, ending up with only £5, the equivalent of $10 in their pocket. Armed with a tiny bit of knowledge they'd learnt about Australia at school, and with no expectation to outcome, they made the horrendously long journey to Australia aboard a converted American tanker. And Mum endured seasickness from the minute she stepped on board until the last day they docked in Sydney, where she didn't get much of a chance to recover from her motion sickness before they were immediately transferred by train to a camp in Bathurst. Now, when they hit Aussie soil, my dad could speak 11 languages, 4 fluently. It's just a shame that none of them was English. While Mum could speak fluent German, French and Polish, the first and only other time she got to test her schoolgirl English was when she tried to communicate with the American soldiers who had occupied her hometown towards the end of the war. And I can assure you, with their strong Yankee accents, didn't sound much like English to her. Now imagine how difficult it must have been moving halfway across the world with no extended family. In those early years, they did feel very isolated, but they knew that learning English was the key to assimilating, making friends, and succeeding in business, but it wasn't always easy. One day, not long after they arrived in Australia, Mum needed to go shopping for some shoe polish. So before she left home, she looked up her German-English dictionary and even cross-referenced it to her German-Polish dictionary to ensure that she had the right words in the right order. And she even rehearsed them several times, walking up to the corner store, which was actually about a kilometre away. Now remember, there weren't even any self-serve services at the supermarkets in the suburbs in the 50s. So Mum plucked up the courage, walked in and asked for some shoe polish. Same spelling, totally different pronunciation. Now they laughed and kept laughing. And the more they laughed, the redder Mum's face became, and she probably turned and left. She was devastated at the time, as it put an enormous dent in her confidence, her pride, and her self-esteem. She certainly didn't understand the quirky Aussie sense of humour, and found that some Aussies weren't as tolerant to these new Australians who couldn't speak the lingo. Mum and I have both laughed about that many times since. But you know, she never ever set foot in that store ever again, choosing instead to walk another kilometre to the main street to get her shoe polish. There was no doubt that life was a struggle to begin with, but as soon as they could, they became naturalised Australians. Dad used to always say, Australia, she's the best country on earth, mate. You know what? The government, she still pays you. In Poland, you know what? You get nothing. But all jokes aside, being an Australian means that you can do and achieve anything. And we have so many international success stories in all walks of life to make us proud to say they're Aussies too. Mum and Dad both mastered English almost perfectly. I always remember when I was in serious trouble, and I mean serious trouble, and my dad was really, really mad, and he would say, "You can't pull the wool over my ears." Oh, you can laugh, and I almost did, many times, but that only made it a whole lot worse, and it certainly wasn't the time to say, "It's eyes, Dad, it's eyes." Sadly, neither of my parents is alive today, but one thing that takes pride of place in my home is their framed naturalisation certificates. Now, I have them photocopied, so I can bring some along for you to see how elaborate they are. I've circulated a couple up the top, and I'd love to circulate some more, if I may, down here, and pass them around and just have a little look at them. One of them is my father's, and on the back is my brother's, and then the other is of mine, of course. Now, I do have to send an apology as they go around, because believe it or not, there is no photocopying machine in Australia that can actually be long enough to get that entire certificate. And for those of you who received yours today, a very, very big difference between the two. So I had the choice. I can chop off the feet of the coat of arms or off of Her Majesty's head. So you'll be pleased to know I chose the legs of the coat of arms. Mum and Dad became Aussies on the 21st of November 1956. And for those of you looking at the documents, take particular note of the signature of the then Minister for Immigration. It was Harold Holt. Now, for those of you who don't know, Harold Holt went on to become Prime Minister and sadly disappeared while surfing in Portsea in Victoria during his term in office in 1967. There were so many conspiracies, you might remember Russian submarines off the coast, all that sort of thing. But apparently they actually discovered, after frequent information, what actually happened. Turns out they found a dingo in the swamp. Okay. Couldn't resist, sorry. Now, who knows, Harold Holt's signature might be worth something one day. But to my parents and to me, lucky enough to be born here, those documents are priceless. Living in Australia gave my family the greatest gift of all, freedom. While Mum and Dad both carried some pretty big scars physically and mentally from the war, being Australian made me feel safe for the first time as adults. And let me tell you, these new Australians assimilated and made valuable contributions to this nation. Dad became a mechanic and ran 2 service stations, and Mum did all the bookwork. Dad was the patron of one of our surf club and past president of his local Rotary Club with an attendance record that is still revered today. Mum was a dressmaker and designer and qualified accountant. She became the president of her Hip Club, chartered the Lioness Club, and was a patron of the John McGrath Foundation, who still runs Odyssey House for heroin addicts. They both became and made an enormous impact on their local community. But despite their best intentions, my parents had strong accents, and we looked different from our earlier Anglo-Saxon migrants. Plus, with a name ending in man, we were soon branded Nazis and Nazi sympathisers. Now, I caught many a beating and bullying as a child, actually winning my last fight by about 100 metres. And Dad's service station was vandalised and graffiti, ironically, with swastikas. Growing up, as the token was in the ritzy northern reaches of Sydney, there was us, the Gherkiniks, the Paganos, they had the fruit shop. We all popped along the flat, even down to the raw foods we ate. In the early days, Dad travelled to the other side of Sydney, over the Bondi, to get his black bread, his pumpernickel, his roost salamis, gefilte fish smoked veal, and dare I tell you his favourite, goose fat. Anyway, in primary school, I'd often get my lunch pinched until Mum ingeniously put in a decoy Devon and tomato sauce sandwich on white bread. And you could actually get 3 days out of that if you didn't put your bag in the sun. Now, children can be so cruel, but invariably they learn it from their immediate family and friends. Let's hope that prejudice, which I simply translate to ignorance, is ever diminishing. I believe that your friends are your chosen family, and soon discovered who my friends were. People who don't judge you by the colour of your skin, or your sexuality, or the religion you inherit. So what else is great about living in Australia? We have a democracy, one of the greatest rights ever bestowed to any human being, the right to a silent vote. We have the freedom to speak out, to say what we believe in without fear of being tortured, arrested, convicted, or killed for it. We don't have civil wars yet, and drought and floods notwithstanding, we can turn on the tap and safely drink fresh water. Oh, we're not perfect, and yes, we are spoiling this country. I used to call Australia heaven, and now I've had to downgrade it to paradise. As our immigration began to increase and we slowly welcomed all nations across the globe, so too has all that raw food expanded our palates, and the music and stories we learn from other lands continues to enrich our culture and broaden our minds. One regret, I do wish I'd been taught more about our First Nations history and culture when I was at school. There's no doubt that the last 2 years have been extremely challenging in so many areas for so many of us, but collectively we are still infinitely better than the rest of the world. What warms me most about living in Australia are Aussies. You make this country great. You put the unity in community, and Junee has shown that to me in just the 2 days that I've been here. The community to rebuild this, the attractions you have, and the warmth and the get-together do for the benefit of Junee is so refreshing. I wish I could take bucket loads of that into Sydney, trust me. Aussies are the first to rally together and put others' needs ahead of our own. And this is illustrated repeatedly during the years of drought, horrendous bushfires, mouse plagues, and of course now COVID pandemic. Despite the hardships, we are still able to take the mickey out of ourselves and never really taking ourselves too seriously. There is a quaint old expression that sums up the quintessential Aussie psyche, especially in these most troubling times, and that is, she'll be right, mate. And we mean it. For me, growing up in Australia, it is those comforting words that epitomise what's so great about this country. Mateship, and how we cope with what's being dealt with us in life and the way we help each other. Congratulations to everyone lucky enough to already be Australians, and to those of you who have become Aussies today. Australia Day and Anzac Day both mean far more to me than Christmas and New Year. So I can't thank you enough for making me feel so welcome and allowing me to share my story on this special day with you. May I finish by hoping 2022 is your best year yet, and ask you to please remember that it doesn't matter if you came here 65,000 years ago or 6 days ago. Let's make sure that we are all in this together and ensure Australia will be right, mate. Thank you and happy Australia Day.
Very inspiring, thank you. We've got some awards to give now, so if you could just stay up here, please, Susie. And I'll ask John Ford and Deputy Mayor Matt Foster to come up, please. Can you hear me okay? Is that working? Well, it doesn't really matter. I think this theatre was designed for amplified sound anyway, so we'll just run with that. Okay, so our special guests are going to, John, by the way, is our last year's Citizen of the Year recipient. So, as I call the recipients up, if you could, once you're presented with your certificate, if you could just stay up here on the podium and we'll get a photo at the end. I think Stuart Screw is going to be taking photos as we go, so just pause as you receive your certificate. What I'd also say is we don't have that many nominations this year. Sometimes there's only one nominee for a category. However, that doesn't mean you automatically get awarded a certificate. Basically, you've still got to be worthy. So I would make that a very strong point. And these names will be read in alphabetical order, so no particular order. So the first award is for Junior Sports Award of the Year. And we have a nominee, which is Grace Pollard. Grace, is Grace here? Could she come up, please? Ask John and Susie to join you present it. So it's just the laminated one to start with. That's the nomination. Every nominee receives the laminated one. That's it. Sorry, yes. Yep. Thank you. And Grace is the only nominee, and I'd like to announce her as the winner of the Junior Sports Award. As you can see, Grace has done a huge amount of things with her life already. For such a young person, it's an incredible amount of achievements. So if you could just pause at the end there, please, Grace. Unless you'd like to say something. That's the way, Susie. Good job. Excellent, excellent. Well done. John. Okay. Our next award is the Sports Award of the Year. And our first nominee is Marie Allenby. And our second nominee is Jason Barrett. And the winner is Jason Barrett. It's incredible what Jason's done with Junee. He is Junee Tennis Club, basically. Fantastic. No doubt there are other helpers, but fantastic.
Well done.
All right. We've now got the volunteer team of the year, and the first nominee is Junee Roundhouse Museum. Some of the things that Gail and her band of volunteers have achieved over the last couple of years has just been astounding. And being the only nomination are also the winners. You'll get everybody organised for us, Susie, please. Well done, Susie. All right, I might actually get you to sort of park over that way, but just getting a bit full on the podium, I think that's a good idea, if you don't mind, please. Okay, the last award is Citizen of the Year, and if the first one, Marie Allenby, can come up, please. The second nominee is Rob Cruikshank. No? Okay, and our third nominee is Natalie Phillips, and I believe Natalie's flat out down at the motel, I think, doing some work. She sent Susie's bringing personal apology. And the winner is Marie Allen. So, congratulations to all those winners.
She's in shock.
Would any of the other recipients like to say a couple of words or something on this, really? Jason will go ahead.
This isn't for me, but this is for the team that's up at the Roundhouse. We're tiny, but by golly, they're brilliant workers. And we're all getting older, and we really do need some young people up there to take over from us. We've built this place up. We've put Junee on the map, Australia-wide and worldwide, with the Roundhouse Museum. And really, it's a credit to the town, but it's a bigger credit to the team that operate there. There's 16 only actual workers. We've got more members, but we don't. So we desperately need some more people up there.
So thank you, winners and nominees. If you could sort of wait around afterwards to promote perhaps more photo opportunities, perhaps. Some of our other guests in this room about that one. Okay, we're now moving to, sorry, Susie, you could stay up there again. I think now I'd like to ask Councillor Pam Halliburton to come here and make a presentation to Susie.
G'day, Aussie Susie. Good to have you here. I have never, in all the time that I've been listening to Australia every year's addresses, heard such an enigmatic, exhilarating and engaging speech. You make me appreciate, and I'm sure everybody else appreciate, why we are Australians. You have given us our freedom, our democracy. You have reminded us of our antecedents and why we are Australian. You are a living relic, dare I say, treasure of a very engaging speech that reminded us all of why we are Australians and that every one of us makes up the whole of Australians. She'll be right, mate. We are all Australian, and happy Australian Day to you all. Thank you, Susie. So, yes, get up close first. Congratulations. And also, as part of being Australia, we are presenting you with this Junee Commission chocolate factory presentation. Susie was saying last night how much she appreciated going to the Junee Commission chocolate factory yesterday for lunch. And Susie, congratulations. Well done, Susie.
Thank you so much. I will certainly enjoy those chocolates and the pictures far too much. But it's the Australian Day pin that I really cherish. And as I mentioned, this is my 23rd year. And I have collected every single Australia Day badge that was ever given to me. And even though normally we'd be outside in some of the ceremonies and I would wear it, but I still thought I would bring it along so you can see. I'll leave it on the side of the stage if you want to have a look at some of the badges. It really is quite fascinating over the years. So this one will not only take pride of place on my hat, but in my heart as well. And I won't forget my trip. Thank you so much. I do want to echo Gail's sentiments in terms of the Roundhouse Museum. Blew me away yesterday. Absolutely blew me away. Not only what they've achieved, but the enthusiasm of the people. And I know it's not just that. I know it's every tourist attraction you have in Junee. But it does, and if it's going to continue, it needs young volunteers. If I was living here, I'd certainly do it myself. So that to me is just so remarkable that you've got all of these things in Junee. So I hope that the younger members of our audience today will think about devoting, even if it's only a small amount of time, every hour makes a difference, and it means that you can retain this, what is just world class. And I know so many people that come to Junee, discover what's here and end up staying overnight, so you get even more people that visit, and I will certainly spread the word of the pleasure. Thanks.
It's collection, that's it's okay.
I'll take it.
Good. Okay, so Pam is now going to present the prizes to the winners of the colouring in competition. This is something Pam pretty well does single-handedly, I think, and manages every year, and it's a great feature of our ceremony every year. So over to you again, Pam.
Thank you, Neil. I really enjoy the colouring in competition because it gives the young children of today an opportunity to embrace their Australian culture with the colouring in that they do, but also it enhances their yes. Anyway, thank you very much. Now, I'm waiting to see, so in the 5 years and under, we have Lacey Dickinson, who won the competition, but unfortunately she could not be here today. And her mother told me that she spent about a week the fine motor skills. It was then hard pressed to get the second prize winner, but Abigail Sweden. I know that girls, but I did not choose the winners. For 6 years and over 6 to 8 years, we had Miller O'Kane, who unfortunately could not be here today, and Emily Williams, and the second. Unfortunately could not be here today. And third place was Annabelle Dickinson, and she unfortunately could not be here today. Unfortunately, we're having trouble with COVID. In the 9 to 10 years competition, Fiona Chen won the first prize, and I'd really like to congratulate her. It's a beautiful colouring drawing. She unfortunately second. To 13 years, unfortunately, none of the participants, winners, and here. We particularly liked the judges, there were 4 of them actually. Liked this rendition of Diana, and I think she's done a very fine job. So Lily McDermott came first, Edie Heckman second, and Orion Hall third. Congratulations to all.
Give Pam a big round of applause. Shame we couldn't have all here. All right, now another regular feature of our Australia Day ceremony is the GEO Group Youth in Focus Scholarships. This is from the Correctional Centre, and Kelly's a regular attendee too, so I'll ask Kelly Eisenhower to come and hand out those scholarships.
Morning, everybody, and thank you, Neil, for the introduction. For those who don't know me, I'm the Human Resource Manager out at the Junee Correctional Centre, and I would like to thank the Junee Shire Council and the Australian Day Committee for hosting this community ceremony and for allowing GO to participate in such an important and well-supported occasion, albeit a bit different this year and last year. On behalf of the GO Group Australia, I'm pleased to award the 2022 Youth in Focus Scholarships. These awards have been established to recognise the considerable achievements of young people within the Junee community. GO are extremely proud to be in a position where we're investing and giving back to our youth so that the community can benefit from their success. Today, we'll be giving out a combined total of $10,000 in awards. I've been fortunate enough to be on the selection panel pretty much every year. So it's a privilege to meet the nominees and listen to the achievements. There is so much talent and intelligence in our community. Nominees could apply for one of three categories: academic excellence, sporting distinction, or creative arts. A total of 13 nominations were received, which were all of a very high standard, and I'm pleased to announce we'll be giving out 12 awards across various categories to those who have not already achieved great things, but have the potential to achieve a lot more. I'll now go through the nominees, and if I can ask when you come up to receive your award, if you can just have everyone gather on the stage so that we can get a group photo at the end. Thank you. So our first recipient is for an Academic Excellence Encouragement Award, and this goes to Jackson White. Jackson has completed his first year of Bachelor of Technology Civil Systems, Master of Engineering Civil Systems at Tulsa University. I'll call upon the following nominee who's been selected as a recipient for a Sporting Distinction Encouragement Award, and this goes to Erica Wooden. Erica first started playing netball in 2016 and has represented at a local and state level. The next award is for an Academic Excellence Recognition Award, and this goes to Sophia Cameron. Sophia attends Junee High School and has been elected as school captain, coming first in a number of subjects in 2021, and is well on track to achieve the goal of university studies. Madison is completing the final year at Junee Shire this year. Maddie is another aspiring student receiving multiple academic awards from her efforts whilst also undertaking a business services traineeship. Claire, another student of Junee High, is completing year 11. She was awarded the Best All-Rounder Student in 2021 and has been accepted to take part in the YES program at TAFE, and she intends on pursuing law upon completion of high school. Tyson has received many awards and accolades from his study and intends to undertake the Bachelor of Technology, Master of Engineering upon completion of high school. One of the following nominees who have been selected as recipients for a Sporting Distinction Recognition Award. So Grace Hollard, who we've already seen up on stage earlier this morning for her accolades and achievements. Georgia Pagano. Georgia has been playing netball for 9 years, being selected for multiple representative teams, and most recently she was invited to trial for the Aspire 14 squad based on the Central Coast of New South Wales. Bailey Willis. Bailey has been selected to represent golf for the Southern Sports Academy over the past 3 years and has represented at a local and state level. Okay, our final 3 awards that we'll be giving out today are the GO Excellence Awards for Academic Excellence and Sporting Distinction. These have been awarded to 3 very deserving nominees who have demonstrated extraordinary efforts. Unfortunately, two of the nominees are unable to be here this morning, but I'm still going to read out their achievements because, yeah, they're outstanding. The first award, who is here, goes to an impressive young lady of 15 years who has played soccer for the Junee Jaguars from the age of 4. She's currently the youngest first grade player in the team, also playing with the Wagga City Wanderers for the past 4 years and has represented New South Wales in the national futsal titles. She runs training clinics and coaches younger players in her spare time and hopes to one day play for the Matildas. The 2022 GO Youth in Focus Sporting Distinction Excellence Award winner is Kate Foley. So the second award goes to a young lady of 21 years who's currently finishing her Bachelor of Education Early Childhood and Primary and is passionate about supporting children in the first 5 years of their schooling. She has shown great commitment in balancing both studying and working as a casual educator at the local junior preschool before being offered a full-time teaching position in her final year of university. The 2022 Youth in Focus Academic Excellence Award winner is Emily Guinan. And our final award for today goes to a young man of 18 years who impressed the Youth in Focus Scholarship panel greatly. He has recently graduated from Junee High School, where he was captain in his final year. While at high school, he received a Long-Term Youth Leadership Award and the Order of Australia Youth Community Service Award. He has been accepted to study a Bachelor of Medical Radiation Science, specialising in diagnostic radiography at Charles Sturt University in Port Macquarie. He is a very worthy winner of our final award, and our 2021 Youth in Focus Academic Excellence Award goes to Oliver Phillips. As you can see, the representation that we have on board or up on stage this morning, a lot of the students here are attending Junee High School, and I think it's a good opportunity to acknowledge the great school that we have here in the local community and the great work that they do in, supporting the students with their study and encouraging them with their sporting achievements as well. And I was surprised that even with the sporting citizenship award that we've only received one nominee when there's plenty of talent in the Junee community. I suppose it's just about getting those nominations in. So I congratulate everyone that's up on stage on this year's, on all the successful recipients. I'd like to thank you all for being involved in the Youth in Focus scholarships and all the best for another successful year. Well done.
Thanks, Kelly. I would like to give the Correctional Centre here a plug too, by the way. They are incredibly great corporate citizens. They donate, I don't know how much, certainly probably 4 or 5 years ago, I asked the previous general manager what sort of level of funding they donated to local and regional causes, and it was in excess of $100,000. So I don't imagine it's got really small, but the things they do for our community, like giving people a leg up and they deserve, it's just fantastic. So thank you, Kelly. Thank you very much. Okay, we're coming towards the end now, where Junee Scout group are going to demonstrate their flag lowering skills. If you'd like to come up, please, and everybody to be outstanding again, please. All right, well, you can sit down or you can remain standing. We're not far from the end. But I would say, having been a member of the first Harden Scout group and learned how to roll the flag and raise and lower it, being employed at the Harden Shire Council and had to put the flag up and take it down every day for a 6-year traineeship. It's not that easy. There's a bit of a skill to it and a bit of a knack. So well done, thank you. All right, that brings us to the end of our formal proceedings. Those people who would like a photo, I think Michael very kindly and Steph would be happy to have a photo taken if you have it already, or family members would like to get a shot. Certainly Struan's captured some photos, but if you'd like a photo with a politician, you're more than welcome. And of course, our people who received the citizenship today certainly would like to get some shots with you of national family too, so please stay upwards. And I think Struan has indicated that up here is probably not a bad spot for we've got good lighting. So anyway, thank you everybody for coming. Enjoy the rest of your Australia Day. Reflect on what a great country we have, and take the time to talk to each other and get to know another person, a new person. Get outside your square, and the more we communicate, the better we will all be as a country. Thank you.